It's the Brad and John Show.
It's the Brad and John Show. I didn't give the date the last segment. I'll give it this segment, this block. Today's January 26th, the year 2026. We've got, what is it, 012626? Is that right, John?
Oh, we're so lucky. What an anomaly of a day.
There we go. Okay, and what do we do in the B block, John?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It is, and we start it with...
It's number 3.
John, how often do I ever talk about the law of unintended consequences? Do I ever bring that up?
Never. What is that, Brad? And what does it have to do with body cameras?
There's an interesting story that's making the rounds. Minnesotans have begun fleeing in droves to Somalia to escape the escalating threat of violence. As the streets of Minneapolis once again descended into chaos, hundreds of families packed their bags and headed for the safety of Mogadishu. Quote, "We had to run for it," said longtime Minnesota resident David and Jeannie Gray. "There are militias roaming the streets, setting up checkpoints. In Minneapolis, that is. I mean, there's some of that too in Somalia, but it's much more low-key. Also, there aren't people blowing whistles constantly. I haven't slept in weeks. Being here in Mogadishu, I finally feel like I can breathe again." Somalia has welcomed thousands of refugees from Minneapolis on a temporary asylum basis. Quote, "Other countries have taken in so many of our people during times of violence. We figured we could return the favor," said government official Laban Ahmed. "It's just so disgusting seeing what's happening in Minneapolis. We just hope these refugees don't bring their violent culture into Somalia." What do you think of that one, John?
I love it so much. And I'm guessing that's the Babylon Bee.
Yes, this is the Babylon.
And they should note that all the old people moving from Minnesota to Somalia are going to set up some elder cares, like their own version of Delmar Gardens.
Yeah.
Mogadishu Gardens.
Oh, there you go. Okay, ready for number 2?
It's time for Brad's number 2.
It is. It's time for Brad's number 2. Okay, this is, I'm going to speak to the Bill Eigels of the world on this one, okay? If you go to Fox News right this minute, matter of fact, I believe it's the number 1 story. It is. It's the number 1 story. If you go on your phone, right now it's the number 1 story. And the topic on it is the far left network that helped out, the far left network that helped put Alex Preddy, he's the guy that got shot over the weekend, in harm's way, then made him a martyr. This is an absolutely, positively fascinating story. Have you read this, John?
No, I have not.
It talks about the incredible network that the left groups, a lot of these are socialists, a lot of these are, full-out communist groups, anarchists, whatever you want to call them. They have this incredible digital network set up with summoning people to various places. They have, matter of fact, and the article goes into incredible detail. Now, I don't know how they did this because the article says that they have broken into the encrypted system and they're actually online with these people real time. And they're showing all the different things they're doing, okay? And like, for example...
Let me interrupt. I think people might have seen this on social media. Are they being coordinated by a Signal chat?
Oh, there's a bunch of different ones. As a matter of fact,
yeah, because I mean, like the app I believe that they're using is a Signal app because I've seen that on social media, and I believe that's how this left-wing network tells people where to go. So, pardon the interruption there. Go ahead.
Right, and what's interesting about it is, what's sort of interesting is, in part of the article, they have Fox has actually got a table of the emojis, and there's this table that shows, and this is a long article. It's very well researched. It goes to show all the different emojis they use in these different sites and what you should do if you see these emojis. And it's just bizarre. And talks about how, and the interesting part of it is it talks about the fact, and this is sort of interesting as well too, the aspect of this guy that got shot, and it's a terrible thing that he got shot, but left-wingers typically don't like guns, do they, John?
No, but in this case, they want everybody to be armed. They love a white man with a gun now.
Right. They're praising him for bringing his gun to protest. But if you read this article, it goes on and on and on. And I'm thinking to myself, who in the world put this article together? They've got screenshots. And like, for example, I'm looking at the emojis, okay? There's a car with a cloud behind it, and that shows mobile patrol commuter in vehicle driving around looking for agents. And then there's another one, a car with a pinpoint on it, like you're going to pin something, stationary patrol monitor in a vehicle positioned at key places in the area looking for agents. Then you see foot patrol, you see a red phone, that's dispatch, you see a school, like a safety vest, that's school event safety spotter. So they're putting these emojis on these sites for people to respond to. I say again, this is where the Republicans screw up. They're just way behind the curve as far as all this stuff is concerned. John, I'm sorry. The conservative Republicans, just like the example I gave, well, I won't give that example. I'll get in trouble for saying that. Oh, what the hell?
Was it about Nina Needlepoint?
No.
Was it about a candidate training that we never heard a follow-up to from Republicans?
You just never leave that alone,
yeah.
do you? No.
It is about the Republicans. Well, Brad, for all we know, I mean, at some point, first of all, conservatives generally don't riot and find ways to, distract law enforcement from doing their job. So I would be hesitant to say this is an example of left-wingers being more technologically advanced than Republicans, because clearly some Republicans have broken into this network and are monitoring the signal communication.
I get it, but what they're not doing is, I'm not saying that the Republicans should put up something like this so they can riot and things like that. But once again, it's bringing the grassroots people. It's bringing the people out. Now, the only time we see grassroots people anymore is when somebody tries to put in a data center, and then everybody, their brother, shows up.
That's true. Now, I am old enough to remember the Tea Party movement, Brad. Do you remember that? That seemed to be pretty well coordinated.
Yeah, but that died a slow death because of the fact that I think because what happened with that is, and if you listen to Dana Lash, she'll talk about that because she was one of the founders of the St. Louis Tea Party. It's sort of segmented. It's splintered into a bunch because people didn't get along with each other. And we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. And you guys are you not conservative enough?
Right, we get it, Brad. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
we're ultra-conservative.
And it would appear that the well-funded Antifa, anti-ICE people are using basic technology very well. You're right about that.
Yes, and the Republicans should take a message from this. They should learn from this.
And then what would conservatives do with this, Brad? Would we find a way to stay in our home and continue to be productive, or what would we do with this? Would we find a map that says, hey, Brandon's going to work and is going to be a productive member of society today. Everybody watch out.
I'm not necessarily saying that, John. I'm just saying, once again, you get out the vote movement. Get out the vote movement, okay? And it's like the deal, okay, I don't mean to throw shade on another radio station, but remember the last time we had the school board elections, which was 2 years ago? Were they coming up again?
And you're going to use Mark Cox's endorsement list as an example.
Right, Mark Cox. And Mark Cox is a great guy. Matter of fact, I texted him this morning. Him and I texted back and forth on something that I showed him. Anyway, great guy, excellent broadcaster. Excellent journalist when he worked at Channel 4. Okay, he had his list of all the people that he approved of, all these super conservative school board members. John, how many of them won their election on Mark Cox's list? John, tell me.
I'm not going to feed into that by giving you a 0.0 number. But I will say, Brad, to say that St. Charles County candidates lost because conservatives weren't organized enough, I think is incorrect. In fact, I've heard you come on the station literally ad nauseum talking about how, see, I believe in the pendulum. And sometimes the pendulum swings too far. And you gave that talk on Friday. So I think it would have to do more with the candidates than it would have to do with a voter guide.
But the sad part of the matter is we're coming up on
election.
Primary election in August, okay? Nobody shows up for the primary. And in places like St. Louis City, where everybody is, once you win the primary, you win the election, and pretty much the same situation in St. Charles County, once you win the primary as a Republican, you win the election. That shouldn't be the case. There should be more people out for the primary than the general, but it never happens.
Yeah, and you know what? People shouldn't go into debt and spend money on credit cards. That's what Dave Ramsey says. And people should help old ladies cross the street. And everybody should join hands and sing with the Negroes and the spirituals of old, free at last, free at last. Brandon, I wish everybody could join hands and have a Coca-Cola and sing in perfect harmony. Let's talk about more stuff that'll never happen and complain about stuff that isn't possibly feasible.
We have a very famous person here who's going to make a comment about what John just said.
Oh, yeah, I want to hear it.
Kabuki! Kabuki! Kabuki!
You got 3 kabukis, John.
I love it, Brad. And you know what? Harley Race wants to hear story number 1.
Does he really? Okay, here we go.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
Actually, John, this is like a 1+ because it has 2 components to it. Okay,
I can't wait. Yeah, give it to us both.
There's an interesting article about Jasmine Crockett, who, once again, we should be proud of Jasmine because she was born and raised right here in St. Louis, had that hard scrabble life. She didn't know where her next meal was going to come from. I mean, she lived this terrible, impoverished life where I think she lived in this city called Ladue or something, Ladue.
Yeah, and did you hear that story one time at MICDS? The quinoa wasn't cooked all the way.
Right. And she went to some crappy little place called MICDS. Isn't that like Missouri Institute for country? I don't know.
Well,
what
you
it
got
was.
the first syllable right.
Okay, Jasmine Crockett is in the news, and there's 2 parts of this. I'm going to talk about Jasmine Crockett and then Pam Grier. Okay, you ready for this, John?
Yeah, yes.
Jasmine Crockett. The article titled her name says, "History is playing race card. She's going after conservatives." And this is her gig. All she's doing is she's saying racial. The first paragraph says, Representative Jasmine Crockett, Texas, has a history of accusing her critics of being racist, no matter which side of the political aisle they're on, even if they're Democrats. On Thursday, the Texas Senate candidate fired back at podcasters, comedians Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang after the 2 listeners were told not to waste their money supporting her campaign. Despite Rogers and Yang later walking back their comments, Crockett accused them of saying the quite part of out loud and going after them because of her race and gender, not because she's the most sophisticated and well-reasoned speaker and always gives you those answers that you go like, wow, I feel like I just went to an advanced college class and I'm like in a 500 series college class. That was so impressive what Jasmine Crockett just said.
Yeah, and I mean, and now is this the same Andrew Yang that pretended to run for president for a while, like the popular Democrat guy?
Same guy. Okay,
yeah, wow. Well, I mean, clearly he's a racist. As an Asian, he obviously hates black people.
Okay.
He can't stand anyone that's not white. What happened to Pam Grier? Is she still with us?
Yes.
Is she still on this side of the earth?
She's 76. Okay. The important aspect of this is she was born in 1949. She was on The View last week. Did you hear about this, John?
No, I don't mean to be brusque, but I didn't know that she was still alive.
She was on The View last week, and it was sort of interesting because she talked about, John always, where did that term hard scrabble come up? You use that term all the time.
I do. Yeah, I just like it. It just, it encapsulates the struggle, doesn't it?
She was on The View last week, and she talked about her upbringing. I think she was born in Columbus, Ohio. And she told the host of The View that since they were black, they were not allowed to live on the base and were instead forced to find accommodations nearby. Her father was in the military. She said, you couldn't take a bus, couldn't afford a car. Your dads walked to the base, she said. Sometimes we'd go from tree shade to get back to the apartment. My brother and my mom with bags. Now, here we go. This is where it gets interesting. She recalled a moment on those trips where her mother had her avert her eyes to protect her and her brother from seeing a lynching. She said, my mom, okay, this is her quote. My mom would go, don't look, don't look, don't look. And she pulled us away because there was someone hanging from a tree. And they have a memorial for it now where you can see where people were left. She continued, it triggers me today to see that voice can be silenced. And if a white family supported a black, they're going to get burned down or killed or lynched as well. After living in several parts of the U.S. throughout her childhood and at one point spending 2 years in Swindon, England, her family settled in Denver, Colorado. Grier moved to Los Angeles in '67. The rest is history. She went on, they don't have the full quote. She went on to say this was almost a daily occurrence where they would walk back to their apartment and her mother would direct her because sometimes there was more than one person who was lynched hanging from a tree on their way back to their apartment. Now, keep in mind, she was born in 1949. So let's say she was a young girl, like early 50s? Like in 50s?
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, did somebody fact check this?
The last person that was lynched in Ohio was like 1912 or something like that.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome.
So she's saying that her mom would tell her not to look in the trees because there's too many people being lynched and they're hanging by their necks in the trees. See, and what's interesting about this is it's like the same situation. We talked about that gal last week. Was there Nakima Levy Armstrong? Have you seen this thing? Have you seen the video of that yet? I saw the extended video. The networks don't show much of it, okay? When she was interviewed on CNN with Aaron Burnett, she said something, I almost quote, she said, "We didn't cause any problems. We came in and sat down in the pews to worship." But yet the video tells a different story. And you know what the video shows?
It shows her probably rioting.
It shows her walking down the aisle, yelling and screaming. And Don Lemon's behind her, and that dude, the weirdo white dude with the beard, who's like shows up everywhere. You know, he was yelling and screaming. He's getting in the face of people and saying, "You're a white person. You got money. You got money to come here. You probably have a nice house. You probably have a nice car," and stuff like that. So this Nakima, I think that was her name, Nakima Levy Brown.
Levy Strong. Yeah. So I'm guessing she's black. Isn't Levy a traditionally Jewish name?
Yeah. Right.
Maybe she's a black Jew.
I think she might be related to Sammy Davis Jr. But anyway, did you get that one, John?
Of course I did, yeah.
Okay.
He converted.
So the point being that enough of this race stuff because it's made up. You know, the Pam Grier stuff and the Jasmine Crockett stuff, you know, once again, I'm old enough to remember when it was bad for the black people. But now things, and the problem with this is in the United States, there are more white people on welfare, white people on SNAP, and probably more Mogadishu people on SNAP than black people. You know, I guess the Mogadishu people are black. Well, you know what I'm saying? It's just to the point where it's like, stop with the race crap. You know, we've had a black president. The most popular athletes are black. Look at the NBA. We had a black president for 8 years. You know, black people do well in this community. I know several very successful black business people. There are black senators, they're black congressmen, they're black doctors, they're black everything. It's not like the old days. Things have progressed. Stop saying that we're back in the 50s. You know what I'm saying, John?
I do. And I think for you to minimize Pam Grier's experience watching all those Halloween decorations and trees that were totally black people hanging, do you think maybe, I hate to sound like a Pam Grier apologist here, but do you think maybe she told the story so many times in blaxploitation films that she actually believes that it's true? Maybe like a Mandela effect for old celebrities? Like, did she tell this lie so many times that in 2026, she's convinced she actually saw black people hanging from a tree?
It's funny you should mention that word because as I'm looking at this article, I read the first sentence of this paragraph. The actress, known as the icon of the blaxploitation genre, was born in 1959 and grew up in a military family. That is actually a term now, blaxploitation. Did you know that, John? I don't know if is that.
Yeah, that's why I used it. Yeah,
I know. Is that officially in the dictionary?
I don't know. It's in popular parlance for sure. Like, I think everybody refers to films like Shaft and Pam Grier wearing short little shorts with a giant smelly afro as being blaxploitation.
I got to look it up, see if it comes up in dictionary. It doesn't show. It's in Wikipedia, but I don't see it come up as an official dictionary. Here's the Wikipedia version of it. Blaxploitation was a 1970s film genre featuring black heroes in action, crime, and horror, born from the civil rights era, offering empowerment by putting African Americans in control, though often relying on stereotypical roles like pimps or hustlers fighting the man. John.
Yeah, and that was a hard thing for the black community. If you're an angry black activist, it's hard for you to criticize blaxploitation because on one hand, the movie industry was actually catering to your demographic, but on the other hand, you complain that they're showing pimps and prostitutes and urban life in an unflattering light.
By the way, Shelley says, I don't have a mansion, but it is a really good house. So there you go. So she's
That's
listening.
true. I see that.
Okay. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. And we won't have any blaxploitation in the next block, I promise.